I guess my point is, let's not worry so much about errors as about meaning. Let's try to get through the meaning of this paper and read through it with an eye toward how are we getting the meaning across most effectively. So you can edit the paper as we go through. You can add comments. Notice that if you highlight something, you can see me highlighting something. You can use the Google Doc highlighter to put colors on things if you want to point something out. You can also add comments. So here we go. If I wanted to add a comment on hooked, you can add a comment there as well. This is from the reading that we did about advertisements and the idea that they are toxic to our culture. So what does everyone think about the first sentence, which is so important? I was hooked from the opening sentence of this passage, and as I finished, I couldn't resist a small internal cheer.
Are we having a verbal discussion?
Yes, absolutely.
Apparently not.
Reading that we did in class.
The reading that you didn't read, Sean.
I didn't get. All I got was 2 student papers. I didn't get another thing to read.
I apologize that I didn't send you the. I thought I sent you the PDF.
Oh, you know what? No.
What I find is the students they'll always fail to read, and then they'll always blame the teacher for not reading.
Well,
That's always the teacher's fault.
I'm going to fit that pattern there.
The prompt here is a screed about advertising. It's polluting our culture. It's polluting our minds. So the students are responding to that.
Well, I like the first sentence, assuming that we all understand the context, which I think, if we understand the context, what I like about it is the emotional commitment in that small internal cheer. What was that? A lot of students have really non-committal prose, and so whatever else he does later on in this paper, I like some kind of commitment.
How does everyone else feel about that first sentence?
I think it's a bit overwrought. I don't know that certainly no one can argue about their prevalence. Advertisements are prevalent, but then the toxic part, I don't think that the author has proven their toxicity so much as assumed it. I don't think the case has even been made. It's just this is just about how prevalent they are and how you can't avoid them. But you to be toxic, it would have to be doing harm. I mean, it's
I would agree with that. The word toxic implies some sort of harm, doing harm to someone, and I don't think they're doing physical harm. I mean, if you want to make sure that the reader knows that toxicity is some sort of metaphor, then that makes a little more sense. But since the word toxic is used, I mean, immediately if you're analytical about it, you go straight to the thought that they're literally causing some sort of physical harm to the populace.
Well, let's turn our attention to the writing sample and see if this student, Angie, has expressed that opinion or a contrary opinion, and if you think that it's effective. I like what Joyce said. Joyce said this student has committed to the idea. Well, do you think Jim keeps popping in and out? Sorry, Jim. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
welcome back, Jim.
Let's ask.
I went into Neverland.
Let me ask you this. Has the student in the first paragraph expressed his or her feeling about the passage effectively? I think that's the important thing.
Yes.
Yes.
What's effective about this passage?
This student has said, has backed it up with, we fly through the channels, endless commercials, our lives are saturated, and apparently it makes him or her scream. So I think absolutely it's backed up.
Yeah, I like the example as well, the flying through the channels, and I think one similar to that could be people, nowadays with TiVos and stuff, immediately fast forward through all the commercials. It's a similar concept, and I think using that as an example is helpful. Using examples is usually helpful. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I like examples. They always make me feel a lot safer and better about how I'm supposed to feel when I'm reading something, I think.
There's a lot of movement in this paragraph, isn't there? There's flying through the channels. There's a lot of kind of visual power. So I think that's true, whether you can agree with the sentiment or not. If you could improve this first paragraph in any way, what would you do to improve it?
I wonder why he or she is screaming, yet it's a small cheer. I just thought that was kind of funny. It's a small internal cheer. But anyway, I thought that was a little backwards. But I think it'd be stronger to just say, I couldn't resist a cheer, or maybe an internal cheer. But anyway, I think that language would be just a little bit stronger.
I think he's overstating in his second sentence. I believe most of us would agree like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he either moved that later or deleted it, it would make for a... Because by saying I believe most of us would agree, he's trying to force consensus, right, with the readers. Mm-hmm. If he went from small internal cheer to who doesn't fly through the channels, it's an easier buy-in as you get started to the thesis.
I agree with that, and I would also say get rid of the "and" infomercial. Because if there's a break in your program, it's the time for the commercials. An infomercial would be taking the place of infomercials don't come on during breaks. I'm not sure. I mean, they get their own time slot and it lasts 30 minutes. So
okay.
I would say, commercials happen in the breaks in your program. I get that. So and I could see someone wanting to avoid them, so flipping channels.
Okay. Well, Sean? Why don't you take a stab at this paragraph real quick?
All right. Well, can I make edits to this?
Yes,
or
you can. You can, unless I've not done something correctly, as usual.
Okay. Well, let's see.
In fact, you all can take a stab at it. You can see.
How about this? From the opening sentence of this paragraph of this passage. I was hooked. I like how it ends there. Here, as I finished the sentence, or as I finished the passage itself, I would say the passage itself, right? So I would just clarify that. I like a little more precision there. I couldn't resist a small internal cheer. I would call that a silent internal cheer. Furthermore, I believe most of us would agree with the author's sentiments that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Delete. And who doesn't fly through the channels?